Welcome back to the Paranormal State, Washington, and UFO UAP. With Makāula Nakae, a lifelong experiencer and ET contactee since 1990. Today's episode, 1947 to 1948, Project Sign, the Great Suppression. How the Pentagon buried the first extraterrestrial hypothesis. If you want to pinpoint the exact moment the United States government decided that comforting lies were vastly superior to cosmic truths, look no further than the fateful pivot from Project Sign, 1947 to 1948, to Project Grudge, 1949. It stands as the most consequential and cynical intelligence pivot in the history of unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAP research. It was the precise historical instant when the national security apparatus consciously chose to decouple state policy from empirical reality, opting instead for a luxurious, multi-decade strategy of managed ignorance and state-sanctioned gaslighting that we are still trying to dig our way out of today. By the autumn of 1948, the hard-nosed military analysts sweating over radar logs inside the Air Technical Intelligence Center, ATIC, at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base had moved well past speculative parlor games. They weren't sitting around asking whether unidentified flying objects were real anymore. They were staring down the barrel of a much more terrifying question. Who is flying them? The accumulated evidence, pulled from high-altitude radar tracks, tactical debriefings of rattled combat pilots, and physical trace reports, had simply become too robust, consistent, and technologically jaw-dropping to sweep away as mass hysteria, temperature inversions, swamp gas, or covert Soviet aviation programs. Buried under an avalanche of undeniable data, ATIC analysts did what good scientists and intelligence officers are supposed to do. They followed the evidence wherever it led, compiled their findings, and wrapped them into a formal, top-secret intelligence document titled The Estimate of the Situation. Its core conclusion was nothing short of revolutionary, and for the buttoned-down military establishment of the post-World War II era, professionally radioactive. The objects were interplanetary. The report bluntly argued that the unprecedented velocities, abrupt right-angle turns, and gravity-defying maneuvers exhibited by these craft completely shredded the known laws of human aerodynamics and propulsion. Furthermore, the analysis suggested that these phenomena were operated by an advanced, non-human intelligence that had been observing Earth for an extended period, operating with complete impunity across Allied and sovereign airspace. In short, we were not the masters of our own skies, and the Pentagon knew it. In late 1948, this blockbuster document was marched up the military chain of command straight to the desk of Air Force Chief of Staff General Hoyt S. Vandenberg. Vandenberg's response didn't just alter the trajectory of modern history, it gave it a brutal karate chop. He flatly rejected the estimate of the situation, not through a rigorous scientific rebuttal, but via a masterclass in bureaucratic self-preservation. Vandenberg demanded an absolute, unquestionable standard of physical proof, specifically dragging an intact spacecraft, our biological alien specimen, onto a military base. Knowing full well his analysts lacked the operational capability to capture a craft moving at hypersonic speeds. By setting an impossibly high evidentiary bar, he weaponized the lack of physical debris against his own team. Vandenberg didn't just file the report away. He ordered the entire document hunted down. Military police and administrative personnel fanned out, incinerating nearly every single physical copy of the estimate. It was an institutional lobotomy, a deliberate act of state-sponsored amnesia designed to scrub the Air Force's collective memory clean. This wholesale bonfire established a dark and enduring blueprint for American national security policy. If the military-industrial complex couldn't control or dominate an anomalous object, the official state policy would be to pretend it didn't exist at all. Summary execution of the estimate spelled the immediate doom of Project Sign, which had approached the UFO mystery with genuine scientific curiosity. To replace it, the Air Force birthed Project Grudge in early 1949, shifting the mandate from objective intelligence collection to psychological damage control. Aggressively debunking reports, dismissing credible witnesses, and enforcing a rigid corporate line that all UAPs were mundane, explainable, or hoaxes. Analysts were no longer encouraged to identify patterns or seek out anomalous truths. Instead, they were explicitly tasked with explaining away the inexplicable to protect the fragile internal psyche of a defense establishment that viewed losing control of the skies as functionally equivalent to defeat. To ensure Project Grudge towed the party line, the Air Force systematically sidelined, stripped of clearances, or banished researchers who believed in an interplanetary reality. They replaced them with a carefully selected echo chamber of reflexive skeptics who treated curiosity as a mental defect. The suppression of the estimate and the pivot to Project Grudge left a festering wound in the institutional architecture of the U.S. government. The deliberate engineering of a national blind spot that handicapped scientific inquiry for 3/4 of a century. To keep civilian witnesses, commercial pilots, and junior officers silent, the Pentagon weaponized juvenile ridicule. Careers were ended, security clearances threatened, and reputations put through a wood chipper. Mainstream academia was successfully frightened away. University researchers and journals learned that touching the flying saucer taboo was professional suicide. Standing on the precipice of the greatest paradigm shift in human history, realizing Earth was shared with an advanced, non-human intelligence, the architects of the Cold War chose the warm, cozy comfort of managed ignorance over the ego-shattering realization that human dominion over the planet was an illusion. By burying the truth in the ashes of a 1948 bonfire, the government trapped itself inside an elaborate web of its own making. Every subsequent generation of analysts inherited the toxic legacy of Project Grudge. A Pavlovian reflex to deny, obfuscate, and ridicule airborne anomalies, creating a profound national security vulnerability that generations of whistleblowers and courageous pilots have had to fight tooth and nail to expose. By tossing the truth into a 1948 bonfire, the government didn't just solve a temporary PR problem. It effectively locked itself inside an elaborate, soundproof panic room of its own making and threw away the key. Every subsequent generation of military leaders and intelligence analysts has inherited the toxic, radioactive hand-me-downs of Project Grudge. A Pavlovian knee-jerk reflex to deny, obfuscate, and chuckle away airborne anomalies rather than actually look at them. In trying to protect the public from a humbling cosmic reality, the defense establishment achieved the exact opposite. They engineered a gaping national security blind spot, blinding themselves to genuine, uninvited incursions while forcing generations of whistleblowers, courageous commercial pilots, and independent researchers to fight a grueling, multi-decade trench war simply to drag the reality of our own skies out of the dark. As it turns out, pretending you're the only kid on the playground doesn't make the other kids go away. It just means you're the only one standing there with your eyes squeezed shut, wondering why everyone else is watching the spaceship land. To be continued. Watch and listen. Watch the cinematic video trailer. Listen to the full podcast now. Explore the archive Cosmic Awakening Volume 1, 1991, Peru, Journey into the Unknown. Sacred Valley of the Incas. Volume 2, Ascension 2012, The Golden Alchemy. Part 3, The First Contact and the Paranormal State. Join the journey. New episodes drop periodically. Each chapter delivers a tight, hyper-focused 10 to 30-minute exploration into the evolution of ufology, perfect for your daily plunge into decoding hidden messages from outer space, designed to raise awareness and foster human evolution. Subscribe to support your inner development. Thumbs up to help push our channel through the algorithm. Comment below. Share your thoughts on today's episode.